I'd like to welcome everyone out to our very first roundtable. We are so excited to be able to start this brand new webinar series with our entire education team and department here. My name is Tiffany McLaughlin, and I'm part of the education team here at Lira Clinical. And we have Metaxia Delikas, Francine Kagarakis, and Ella Cressman. And we are so excited for everyone to be here to start this very own roundtable exclusively to Lira.
And hello and welcome to our first Skin Excellence Roundtable. We are so happy to be introducing this roundtable format because we want to create a space for us to share information, understanding what's emerging and what's re-emerging in our industry.
Today we're going to be discussing devices. We've actually noticed a resurgence of these devices out there. We really want to take the time and kind of discuss Lira with these devices and offer you the opportunity to ask some questions.
Lira Clinical has many effective protocols, and we're very, very excited, as Ella's showing us right over here, our wonderful Elements treatment guide. We just introduced 4 unique, very unique protocols, and the one that we are really highlighting is our new anti-age, and we're getting such great results with it. So I do hope everybody's looking into it. It shows a great unique way of doing treatments and actually doing the exfoliation process in 3 different sections of our protocols. So we all know Lira Clinical products do the work for you, okay, and Lira Clinical skincare system has proven to give us results.
So a couple of things. We have heard many of you reaching out, kind of inquiring how to incorporate these devices with your Lira Clinical skincare system. You've emailed, you've spoken to a lot of your Lira Clinical territory managers, you've called, you've asked these questions, and we just want to let you know that we have heard you. We know that you're wanting to incorporate these things. And so that's why we've come today to kind of do a couple of things. Wanted to do a couple of housekeeping items just initially. If a couple of you can just type into that question bar and let us know that you can hear us and see us. Make sure that you can see the screen and see us on your screen, and making sure that you can hear what we're saying. If you just want to kind of type in where you are listening from today, that would be absolutely fabulous. This is going to be an interaction type of roundtable. Obviously, we will be discussing, but if you have specific questions, feel free to type those in and we will be taking care of those as well. So awesome. We have people all the way from Arizona and San Diego, all the way from Saudi Arabia. So woohoo! We are looking at all of the globes. So fabulous. Now keep in mind that if you are listening from a mobile device, you might not be able to see us all the way. However, if you are on a computer, then you should be able to see us and hear us and be able to see that screen. So I am super excited. Make sure that you have all your mutes off, and that will also enable you to be able to see and hear as well. So excellent. So Ella, how many devices did we talk about and kind of research out and discuss before we actually decided, yes, these are the ones that we're going to definitely talk about today?
Well, there are many devices to pick from, right? We've got them from advanced all the way to very basic, I would say, things that are awesome. But each one of them, no matter their complexities, are all very important in each in their own way. But today, we're going to focus on the most requested protocols. As Tiffany mentioned, you asked, we heard you. And those is particularly what we're focusing on today is those devices that would be found on a service menu, and that is dermaplaning, microcurrent, LED, and drumroll, microneedling. So there is an important consideration, something to think about though, when we're talking about devices and what our favorite products are with Lira Clinical. We also want to make sure that to point out that it is important to follow manufacturer's instructions, right? We want to make sure that you're not voiding any warranties. So that's one important key thing to remember, because there's specific components and mechanisms and you don't want to mess with that, right?
No,
Yeah.
we don't want to do that.
We definitely want to kind of confirm to all of you is you have to be licensed and properly insured, whatever you do modalities to anyone as a service. It's important. We also say that you should actually receive the service on yourself first, understand the feeling, reassuring them that you know what you're doing, you've done it on yourself. It means a lot, and it goes really a long way when they could look at you in the eyes and you could honestly say, I've done this, I know how it feels. It's important.
Let's take a look at our next slide. Lira Clinical and devices, because that's what we're really going to focus on today, is how do we pair them? What goes best with these different devices, right?
Exactly. And these are devices and protocols that you're able to add on your menu. And this is what people are looking for. These are the ones that are requested the most. Dermaplaning was just approved. Thank you. Was just approved January 2022. And we are allowing estheticians and cosmetologists to perform this particular protocol. And it is now under their scope of practice.
In the state of California. Yay, California.
Finally. How many other states have it? Many.
A lot of other states have. This is one of I'm a practicing esthetician. I live in Colorado, and this is one of my all-time favorite services to perform. I absolutely love this. It's one thing to piggyback on what Metaxia said. This is a modality, if you will, that you absolutely want to make sure you are properly trained in.
In fact, we just came back from the Dallas show and we did this fantastic class.
Yes.
Brenda did a beautiful class. And the question was, is this considered a modality when you're doing a lineup of a treatment? And yes, you would definitely consider dermaplaning as a step, as a modality, because it'll just encourage more or access more of the product that you can apply after.
Tiffany, can you see if anybody's on from Dallas?
Let me take a look here. I'm not sure if I saw Texas on here, but let's. We
Okay,
have Minneapolis, Florida.
that's fine. That's fine. Just that was a big
Not
question.
seeing any Texas right now.
Okay, that's fine. All right.
What you were saying, Metaxia, is
New York, Las Vegas, Poland.
when we're following the GPS, that this would be considered a GPS 1 if we're just doing dermaplaning, or we can introduce this as part of the GPS 2, 3, or 4 philosophy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The reason why you layer it that way is you're actually refining the stratum corneum so
Right.
that you have more access. So it's important to consider this step as a access. You're actually refining the skin and giving it more ability, more product penetration and more ability to go in deeper within the epidermis.
And it's nice because Lira actually has different levels of peels, and we have GPS 1 through 4. And now we're able to add this particular protocol into our protocols, and we can add it and make it from a GPS 1, add this in, it becomes a GPS 2.
Speaking of refining, let's define it, shall we? Let's define what dermaplaning really is. So dermaplaning is actually a planing, hence the name, of the outermost layers of the skin with a sharp instrument, usually a sterile scalpel, most likely. But
I like that
usually, because we also see now these clinical treatments, but they have the at-home dermaplaning. Have you seen them?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, they have them at, I saw them at the grocery store even recently, and I was like, no, because it's scary, but that's what dermaplane is defined as.
And the question is, what's the difference between dermaplaning and shaving?
That's a big one, yes.
So how do we define the difference?
A clinical setting. That's what I would say. Yeah.
And a professional.
Yeah,
knowing what they're doing and doing it correctly.
Yeah, I think.
Well, my question to you would be, is most of the time when clients are shaving at home, that's kind of where we're differentiating between kind of that wet and dry dermaplaning as well. I would definitely say most of the time when clients are doing that to themselves in the shower, what have you, that, most of the time that is a form of wet dermaplaning, so to speak, and most of the time that's kind of a little bit of a differentiation as well. I just wanted to also welcome one of our other co-owners, Brenda Cumming, who is also now on, that can also contribute to our roundtable and our panelists as well.
Welcome, Brenda.
Good morning.
Let's
All of you
talk.
are fantastic. I love the slides. I just wanted to add something about dermaplaning. And what I explain to my patients is when you go to the store and buy a shave, a razor, how many guards are on it and how many triple blade protected is it, and double and triple? Because if everybody shaved with a scalpel, we'd be busy in the emergency room, right? So
Right.
you're using a straight blade and trained and laying it against the skin with skin tight very carefully, where when you're shaving your legs or your underarms or your face, you're almost guaranteed to really not cut yourself. So I don't think you can get as much dead skin off than you with a regular razor than you can with a dermablade.
Not to
That's all I
mention
wanted to say.
perspective too, because as a practitioner on a face, we have a different perspective on a
That's right.
forehead, on a jawline. Then I can't see my own jawline. I
Right.
can't see my cheeks. I mean, sometimes when I smile, but it's a different perspective, so it gives you more access.
Well, I think it's important to address what Brenda says. You're using a scalpel, and I think proper training is important, because you learn in a good training session that how you have to be really careful with the blade. I can tell you that I've heard of incidences that people were talking and they shouldn't have been talking, or moving when they shouldn't have been moving. Controlling that scalpel on the surface is really very valuable. But it is a scalpel. It's not a shaver. And Brenda brings a really good point. It's not the same, but it's similar in what it does. So be really trained properly on it and understand what you're doing before you just decide to do it, because you do have a scalpel in your hand.
But what's exciting is there's 3 different ways. We have dry, wet, and one that we just added, damp.
So let's talk about that. I thought I had an ingenious shower breakthrough, because that's where I do my best thinking. I was trained dermaplaning dry.
So was I. So was
I was trained that way. And one day in the shower, speaking of Brenda, when she's talking about shaving your legs in the shower, in a hurry, I shaved without anything, just water. And I had razor burn so bad. And I thought, if I had just taken the time to put something slippery on there, and then I had what I thought was an ingenious and unique idea of what if I put something slippery on the face in order to do a dermaplane. So I did it, and I saw an incredible result. It felt a lot different. It was a different amount of control because I had to change the way I was holding the skin. Right. But the results for me on a lot of my clients was different. And so that I came to understand is known as oil dermaplaning or wet dermaplaning, using a medium for that. And then we were talking about, Brenda has a way of doing things, hers protocol. And I said, oh, that's kind of like right in between dry and wet. So that would be like damp. That would be a damp version. So why don't we talk about where we put this in a protocol?
Well, so definitely, I think where it goes in the protocol is the exfoliation step. And let's kind of go moving forward. As the exfoliation step, what are some of your kind of Lira Clinical favorites, those products that work so well with both wet and dry dermaplaning as well?
Can I say?
Yes. Go for it.
The Mystique Illuminating Beauty Oil. Gorgeous.
Yeah. But you have a protocol that you use for that too, like before. I think what you do is really cool.
I cleanse the face with the ice cleanser, and then I just use a tiny bit of the primer, just a skosh. And then as I put a little bit of oil on the area that I'm going to dermaplane first, and massage that in a little bit, and then dermaplane with the oil.
Nice slip.
So that would be your, what do you call it, Ella? Your damp protocol.
Yeah.
Oh, I do like it. And then when they're finished, I must put the biohydro infusion on and massage.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yep, with a little BB tint. They look great.
I've seen people dermaplane with the illuminating cleanser. Oh, I think it's really nice because it gives you a
That's
nice
your wet.
That would be more of your wet. And it's nice because you actually, when you dermaplane, you see the cleanser come off, so you see where you're taking it off, and it gives you more of a cushion. Sometimes I think that really works. I've seen it done really well.
That's my favorite way, my absolute favorite way.
It's with the illuminating cleanser.
I love it.
But it's important to understand that it's an exfoliation step. As Tiffany said, it's a step that you would do to prime or prepare the skin for the next step. And that could be another treatment, that could be a product, but it is taking down the epidermis, refining the stratum corneum to understand that now you have more access. The key thing is that you control it. You could go to an area that's thicker, more of a buildup, and actually take a couple passes. But it's important to adjust the blading with what the skin needs. You know, for example, a thinner area might not need a couple of passes, where a thicker area might need a couple of passes. Just be aware as the skin refines itself, the changes, the inflammation, you know, wants to be a consideration. You don't want to go too deep and scrape the skin and cause inflammation, because that's additional risk. But erythema is a good point to see that I've gotten the attention and I've refined the skin enough to stop.
So Ella, I know that you used to help train people on dermaplaning, as well as Francine and Metaxia. And looking at that, what are some of these training highlights that you've kind of noticed, even with the experienced esthetician, when they're going into dermaplane? It still is one of those applications, still one of those techniques that really kind of, you need a little practice a little bit. It's not a one and done, hey, I'm an expert at this, I know how to do it. What are some of those highlights that you think definitely need to be considered?
I think I was actually helping Brenda. Brenda was teaching a class and I was assisting her one time. And we had this student who was like, okay, I'm going to do it. She was about a quarter of an inch away from the skin, just moving her blade. And I'm like, okay, yes, you are. You know, I'm going to do it. And I'm doing it. And I'm like, no, you're not. I'm not doing it yet. And so I realized there that there's real fear. You're putting a scalpel on someone, right? So there is
On
a
their
fear
face.
on their face and where they are. And so one of the things I implemented in my later trainings was using a balloon, because that fear of popping the balloon was real. It kind of mimicked that fear of slicing a client, for lack of a better term. But it really helped kind of conquer that fear and get used to holding the skin taut. I think that's one of the most important things. The other thing when you're training is that you're learning one technique and you'll find your own way of doing it later, right, once you've got a couple hundred under your belt. But I ended up having to train. Here's one of my biggest points to point out. I did training for a big company and they had a quarter of a page consultation form, period, for everything they did. And that is something that I think that did it a disservice to this protocol, to anything else, because there wasn't enough time to really understand the client's needs, or is this an appropriate treatment, all the things. So having a full consultation, making sure that this client qualifies for this treatment is important too.
Consultations, but it's important, we didn't address one really important factor. It takes off the vellus hair. Mm-hmm. So there's a quick, instant correction. So all of a sudden you have a refined epidermis, but you also have released a lot of that vellus hair, so it is a smoother texture and you have better penetration. It's amazing the instant result that you get for dermaplaning.
Well, and I think sometimes people think, oh no, it's shaving. It means the hair is going to grow back thicker, and that's not the case. And that we want to remind our clients
debunk that myth, Tiffany, because a lot of patients will say, well, then I'm going to get thicker, darker, coarser hair. That is not true.
Right.
You're just getting the hair that has pierced the top of the skin.
It's the expertise of a licensed professional that can actually take the blade and calculate how much of the epidermis they're going to refine. Where shaving is literally a razor, and it's not as guided as a professional can, and as close. The scalpel can get closer to areas. It's just a more of a professional approach.
It's more customized.
Yeah,
it's a lot more customized, and you're able to see a little and get a little closer.
Right.
And then you will determine what type you need to do on this particular client or patient. And you were talking about this the other day, and we were discussing this. Even people have done this with makeup on.
Yeah, when we first started to train, talking a long time ago, they
Don't
would
talk
have,
about how long
I'm
ago.
not, a patient would come in and literally they would leave the makeup on and take the scalpel and take off the makeup and the vellus hair and a little bit of the epidermis, so that it was there as a cushion. And I didn't think that was really at that time the proper way. I think cleansing the face, keeping the skin clean is really important, because there might be a nick, there might be a cause that you don't want to cause any additional risk of inflammation, risk of infection. You know, you can nick someone's face, and you have to be really careful in what you do after that.
And that's where the dry comes in, and you might as well tell why the dry is beneficial with the vellus hair.
Well, if you use a cleanser that really strips a lot of the oils, what you'll find is that the skin all of a sudden becomes dry and the vellus hair pops out like this. If you ever see, you get your surface really dry. It's sometimes easier to kind of take that vellus hair, because his hair is so dry and kind of popping up, and sometimes that's an option too, we've seen.
So this is why maybe you would customize dry, wet, and our new one, damp.
Well, we do have thanks Rhonda for your comment. She was actually trained using an iodine solution for dermaplaning. So
Wow.
they can
I've
see
seen that.
the blonde hairs, and they can see the actual hairs better with that iodine solution. So that's an awesome comment. Thank you so much, Rhonda, for that. Appreciate it.
Great.
So moving on to microcurrent and how we like that microcurrent. What is it? What do we know about microcurrent? We know that it's a low-grade electrical current that helps to kind of tighten and firm up those facial muscles as well as smooth the skin. And excuse me, Metaxia, where do you like to put your microcurrent in your protocols?
Pardon me?
Yes, where are you?
Go ahead.
All right. Do I
In
one of
the
the other?
protocol, this, first of all, I'd like to point out, like, on the skin, this is my journey with microcurrent. When in school, I was trained, like, the picture in the upper left-hand corner, and for me, that felt so intimidating. So I kind of dismissed it as part of a protocol until maybe about 10 years ago, and I started using a device similar to this that felt easier to me. It felt less scary. And where I use this is in either the serum step, or like in the finishing products, or in a mask. And I can tell you my favorite way to use this is with the biohydrating mineral mask, actually, because of the conductivity. But now I don't really use this as much, and my interests have shifted to the gloves, because I think that is the next thing I'm excited about as far as microcurrent is concerned.
It was an expensive device years ago, and all of a sudden now anyone can buy this device, a smaller handheld one. It actually stimulates the muscle, and remember, you need the engine, you need ingredients to work with this. So it is a good device. It definitely works really well with our products, but you have to have a conductor, but you have to also keep doing this. It's not a one-time, fix all. It's not a result that you get the first time you do it. It is a sequence, it is a series of these that will kind of give you a benefit, but you have to continue using that. I think what's really cool about ingredients is that when you use your home care every day and you get your serums every day, your body's in that motion. This is a device that you need to continue to do it as a series, and it's not in motion as our products do.
Our job is to stimulate, as Metaxia was saying. Stimulating is what we're doing. And we do have different products that you can use, as Ella was saying, the mineral mask conductors. Colloidal silver and gold are awesome for this, but you're not only getting those, you're stimulating with that conductor, but you're also putting a lot more in the skin. Touching somebody is also very important too, because you sort of feel connected with the client at the same time.
For that, well, and we want to remember that Lira Clinical does use colloidal silver and gold, which that combination is beautiful for conductivity. So when looking at those Lira Clinical products, the biohydrating mineral mask I know is a huge popular favorite with microcurrent, as well as our pro firming serum. Both of those work beautifully with that conductivity. And checking out to see if a product actually has conductivity works really, really nicely. We found out just by doing that our Pro Retinol cream, for whatever reason, has conductivity as well. So really taking that into consideration and utilizing those products works beautifully with a microcurrent machine.
And Tiffany, like you said, we're not sure why.
Nope,
That's,
we just know it does.
that's all we know. No, we're trying to figure out exactly what does it, but all we know, it does work.
And this is a good one to put your products that you really want to penetrate underneath the conductive component. So I like to do the pure hyaluronic, the pro firming serum or pro light, switch it, and then the mineral mask on top. One thing to keep in mind though is no oil. No oil, because that interferes with the conductivity.
Yeah, right.
So where it would be awesome to be able to really force a moisturizer in, this is not the step for that, but you can do so in the finishing products.
And it's important when you buy these devices to follow the manufacturer's guidelines.
Yes.
It's important that, you know, they have their guidelines. But as an esthetician or a skincare therapist or professional, we always are looking for ingredients that we can actually customize. And that's what makes all our professions so fun, because we're not going to just follow manufacturers. We're going to try to kind of keep
We can make
that
it better.
knowledge going. Yeah, we can make it
We
better.
can make it better.
When working with our Pure HA, now I have not used it personally used it in combination with microcurrent. Have any of you used Pure HA in conjunction with microcurrent? Love it, hate it? It works good. You prefer a different product?
You know, another one too is the pH solution while they're answering.
Colloidal silver and gold.
Colloidal silver and gold.
Colloidal silver and gold. And it all depends the glide. So how you're going to glide around, you know.
Yeah, you don't want to.
Right, exactly.
As long as you have that slip on the skin, it's key to help that move, because microcurrent is more of a labor intensive treatment just for the esthetician as a whole. So, and when working with different currents, radio frequency, what are some of your favorite masks to work in conjunction with radio frequency treatments?
That'd be a great Brenda question.
Brenda, which one are you using? I might have lost her.
She might have asked, let me make sure she's not muted. It looks like she's muted. So you know what? We're going to put a pin in that for you, Amber, and find out what masks work best with radio frequency. And we are going to take a look now again at our LED light therapy. So many different machines out there. This is one of those machines that definitely following those manufacturer guidelines, because there are so many different kinds of LED therapy and LED machines that you can incorporate into your practice as well.
Can I jump in, Tiff?
Absolutely.
Fran and I were introduced to a LED machine that literally would sit on a desk and probably weighed
It
about
was
30
huge.
pounds.
It was huge.
I still
Yes.
have that in my garage because I don't know why, but it was
Memories.
But it was something that I needed two people to pick up, and it was a huge panel and all this, and
It was impressive though,
yeah.
because it really was impressive. It took the whole table and it was all the way around.
Candid present.
I mean,
did.
it was
Yes.
heavy, and then you had these panels, and it was intense. And we were learning about that many years ago, and it really was the blue light that was for acne that was first introduced to us. And they were very expensive. They were very bulky, and I could tell you, going to the trade shows, they're becoming more popular, bigger booths, and it's changed the way we
Much easier to use.
yeah.
Much easier to use.
Oh yeah.
and bodies involved now.
Mhm.
So I mean, we have one.
Scalp,
We'll probably take a
body,
picture of
everything.
it. I mean, literally, it was huge, huge.
Well, we know that some of that LED therapy actually originated in the medical arena, where they were utilizing that red light to help with muscle regeneration. And when people were struggling, especially with the back, they were using that LED therapy directly on the body. And then all of a sudden, hey, this works fabulous for the skin and facial areas. And like Metaxi indicated, just even getting back from the Dallas show and watching some of these attendees lay flat on their back with an entire LED mat, as you would, to be able to help regenerate and stimulate the skin is one of those really just fascinating things, I think, to see the advancements in technology within our industry as well. We know that we have our blue light, as we discussed, that works so well with acne And that is going to be your top layers of skin that it will primarily work with that antimicrobial aspect. And then we go into our yellow light, which penetrates just a little bit deeper than that blue. And then finally, we do have our red light, traveling the deepest into the skin and helping stimulate with that regeneration. Red works beautifully to help stimulate that collagen and elastin, as well as to help reduce that inflammation as well. So when we look at our different LED treatments, where are we going to put it into the protocol? Fran, where's your favorite, what color is your favorite light, and where do you like to put it in your protocol?
I love my red one. It looks stimulating. That's it.
That's what you call a live roundtable.
Okay, but somebody was on red light.
I'm gonna jump
In
in
the
with
red
the-
light, okay, okay.
Let's get,
Oh my, in the red light district. Okay, oh God. I really do have to watch what I say. I need to be edited every
Okay,
so
so I'm-
often.
okay.
You heard it here first.
okay, go ahead, Fran, it's all yours.
Oh, God. One thing you have to remember.
Well, can I tell
Okay.
you, jumping in,
Okay.
it's becoming more and more popular as she takes her breath here. It's becoming more popular. I've seen devices that have multiple lights at one shot too. They're
Yes.
Oh my God.
more
never did
high
that.
end.
Okay.
Light therapy is real. It should be considered part of the modalities that you lay down. So when you're calculating,
Okay.
yeah, like
I'm sorry. We're not
When you're
taking it that way. I
calculating
apologize.
the steps,
Okay.
that should be considered a step. And I'm going to jump in and say, usually you put it on dry skin and towards the end.
No,
of
nothing
your
should be on your
treatment.
skin. Yes.
This is something I want to put an exclamation point on this because I say this all the time. I put it over a jelly mask
Yes.
or I put it over this kind of mask. But what happens, right, whether it's red or blue
Mhm.
or amber or green or purple, there's a lot of different colors that have different, as Tiffany was saying, like different depth of penetration. But if you put something on, it's not able to penetrate and
That's
not
right.
able to penetrate evenly. And so that's something, the influence here is what you do before the LED and then what you do after the LED. So some things that are really great to do before an LED would be exfoliation
Mhm.
and preparation. So something that's going to open the skin up.
Okay. Good.
What has happened too is that from learning, we've learned a lot. We used to be able to put LED, like the big panel we had in front of our face. The light source can be competitive with the light source in the room. So what we're doing is closing or turning the lights down or causing that barrier so that the lights get closer, more intense to the skin. So if you notice, these panels are becoming more closer to the skin and it's not competing with the light in the room. So we're learning that. That's important because you can put an LED, but if there's too much light in the area, it will definitely reflect away from the skin. So compete.
There you go.
Compete. So it's really important to understand that these panels are becoming more sophisticated. They're getting closer to the skin, and they're really more targeted to an area. And the whole body now is part of that treatment. So you're not doing just the face. You're not doing it's just the acne on the face. You're doing the whole body for inflammation. So it is a modality that you should consider and be aware of because I really think it does help with a lot of the treatments that we're offering.
And there is another light out there. It's the white light. And we were talking about the infrared.
Yeah.
And we need to know that that's a separate modality and you do not do the same thing with the infrared that you do with the LED. They're two different modalities and you do need to be careful to make sure you don't do a peel at the same time and leave it on with a white light. That is not what it's intended
It's
for.
called white light, but what they really mean is
Mhm.
infrared, and there's
Infrared,
near
yes.
infrared or far-reaching, near-reaching or far-reaching infrared. And what that really does, and the reason that that's a contraindication,
Mhm.
because the infrared is a little bit of a heat source.
And
So
there's heat.
Right, exactly,
It's
yes.
heat. So when you find heat, you find stimulation. When you find stimulation, you cause the skin to be alarmed. And all of a sudden, you're not getting the same reading as a cold light or a light that doesn't bring heat to the surface.
But a lot of people get them confused and they do similar treatments with the LED as they do the white light or infrared, as we're saying. So make sure there is a difference and the modalities are not the same.
There is such a broad range of manufacturers and LED devices out there currently. And that's where, once again, kind of referring back to one of our key points within this entire webinar is making sure that you understand the manufacturer and you are following their guidelines. There are manufacturers out there, thank you, Wendy, that do indicate that their light will, penetrate through certain types of products. For the most part, most of them, though, do recommend having that LED directly on bare skin. It's just one of those things in conjunction with making sure that LED, there are even now those machines that clients can use at home, and having them have an LED therapy at home is not going to replace any type of home care products. Those products are they can complement them, but they shouldn't be a replacement. And that was a beautiful comment that David made. Thank you. We also want to consider, if you are working with Lira Clinical's Smart Peel system and working with our GPS or Guide and Protect system, that if you are utilizing that LED therapy is considered a modality. So if you are utilizing LED, for example, with another Smart Peel solution, that is automatically considered a GPS2 treatment. And if you want to learn more about our GPS, our in-person Smart Peel classes are now available throughout the United States, and check in with your Lira Clinical representative for that hands-on interactive class as well. When we moving on to our microneedling instead of our LED, I know microneedling, this is kind of some of our favorites with microneedling because we do have so many different types of microneedling. And how do you like your microneedling, Metaxia?
Good question. There's a difference. Microneedling, I love microneedling. I think it is a fantastic way to open up a pathway. I think it's a great device. California wasn't legal, and all of a sudden became legal when we used the term nano needling. And nano needling means not a needle or a very superficial depth, if that. But I have to say, I think it's really very popular. We were definitely introduced with mesotherapy a few years ago with Dr. Khalil's mesotherapy class, and it delivers opportunities for the skin to be injured, traumatized, pathway, whatever you want to call it, and it gives us the opportunity to go stimulating.
There we go again.
I love the treatment. I think for me, it's one of my top ones when you know how to do it. Again, proper training, understanding the scope of your practice. I have to say I'm very, very honored and blessed as Lira co-owner that we have an alternative to people that can't do the microneedling, and that's our Green Power. I personally have done half the face with the Green Power and lactic, and then the other half the face with the microneedling. Very similar results. So the only thing that I would want to add is that microneedling, as the manufacturers say, gives you a 20-minute window of what you could put into the skin, where our Green Power gives you 24 to 48 hours of opportunity to keep feeding that pathway. So again, one type of treatment is not enough. A variety of different options is really important. So you could do the Green Power, and you could do the microneedling, you could do the nano needling. All these things are opportunities that we could do in our back bar.
CIT means collagen induction therapy, and a lot of people call it CIT, collagen induction therapy. Microneedling is a little more universal around the world, and it really did start a little more like that vampire treatment that is out there, stimulating for collagen, and this is what we did. So it was a controlled wound, and it is a pathway to get into the skin. And nano was a little more skin friendly for estheticians, and a lot of times they were not able to do microneedling. So nano is a device that is able to, again, open up some pathway to get some products in. I'm with Metaxia, and the green herb is a huge favorite. Not only do we put in Badiaga, you put plant stem cell technology in there, and what you're doing is opening up the pathway. And as you said, for 24 hours, you are able to feel the herb in your skin.
And it's really important. There's a lot of herbs in the market. going through a trade show floor. The difference is that we take our herb and we actually mill it and add mastica to it and other factors to it. So when you're actually opening a pathway, you're not just delivering a pathway, you're delivering ingredients within that same application. So it's important to know that you'll have less inflammation, you'll have more of that, the melanocytes more reassured with the ingredients that go there to calm down the melanocytes. So ours is unique, and I could tell you that we find it's more of
Controlled.
controlled.
I like that because you're using it in different bases. You're able to put it in a cleanser. Say it again.
Customized.
Customizable.
Yeah, you customize the delivery system. How are you going to put it in? And one of the things that I like is it's not just in that exfoliation step of the actual treatment. You have a couple of different places that you can actually incorporate that green power into your treatment and introduce it to the client to see if this is going to be an actual modality that you want to use frequently on them.
But this is something to add to your menu, either microneedling or collagen induction therapy or collagen induction therapy alternative. So this is a very popular modality in the market.
I think it's important to discuss the difference between like CIT, a CIT alternative, and nano, where we have, there is a difference. So it's a percutaneous delivery or a percutaneous collagen induction.
I like that word.
Yes, we do.
So the collagen induction on the left and the collagen induction alternative on the right, those are penetrating through the skin. Where nano is an infusion. It's kind of it's an infusion, and they all have their place.
Yes.
And they're all phenomenal for what you want to do. As a rule, in my practice, I love CIT for pigment and for wrinkles, and I love green herb for a lot of reasons, especially when I have a client with co-issues.
Yes.
And I like nano for infusing hydration. So if something comes in really dry, I love the nano for that part. So they all have their place, but they're not the same. Like nano is kind of lumped in with microneedling, but it's more like a cousin.
And it works. I mean, all of these devices work, and these opportunities to go in and make a pathway. I can tell you with the green power for me with acneic skin, we're working on one of the young ladies here, and we have the opportunity to go in and deliver. We control how much herb, we control how much you actually manipulate, and it actually gets in and penetrates and delivers a lot more of the ingredients that benefit acne and cure it or refine it. But again, all of these modalities are cool because they're pathways and opportunities to get into the epidermis, which again, it's the last, how many years? The last 15 years?
Oh, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
There's a word I love, I love the word you use, percutaneous. Okay, the way to remember this, we have epidermis, dermis, and subcutaneous. So now all you have to remember is percutaneous.
Through.
Okay, going through the skin. So percutaneous is a word that we're going to be throwing out there every so often because it sounds so much more sophisticated. So when you're talking to your clients, we're going to be doing a treatment that is percutaneous to make sure that we're getting in there, stimulating the skin, opening up the pathway, and getting all those ingredients into the skin.
So a couple of just combinations of some of our Lira Clinical favorites. I know that pure hyaluronic works beautifully with your straight collagen induction therapy, making those deeper microchannels. CITA, what is your favorite product to deliver that green power into the skin, Ella?
It depends on my client, honestly, and what their needs are, but this is why I love Lira. Let me tell you, this particular solution is why I love Lira, because I feel like a little bit of this and a little bit of that, because I love that. So often, it's really great to start with Vitabright, but I've even done it in Mystique Cleanser, but as a medium, add a couple drops of Prolite, boom, boom, boom. I don't know, this is my favorite way to feel creative and to really customize for exactly what that person needs.
Well, a great way to introduce green power too is in our elements guide. We do have our anti-aging element treatment that we are combining the green power with the Mystique illuminating cleanser, and it is just such a wonderful way once again to introduce that client to introduce that client to the green power to see kind of how their skin responds. If their skin, if it's something that is going to work well for that correction and any skin conditions that you're looking to manage or treat with the client. I recently have been really playing around with a nano pen, and that's where I actually absolutely love our biohydro infusion or making a cocktail with our Pro Light serum. And then the biohydro infusion together works beautifully to help infuse into the skin as well. So some of these products work absolutely amazingly with our microneedling techniques. And if you need a copy of our Elements Guide to kind of review that protocol with anti-aging elements, feel free to go to liraclinical.com at our website or contact customer service and they can help you out to make sure to get a copy of that. So we would like to thank everybody for joining us with our initial roundtable. There were some questions I was trying to get into, but are there any specific questions that anybody has that would like to ask that we can kind of go through? We do have a little bit of a limited time, but if you want to type those questions in, we can ask our panelists and see what they're thinking of. I know we had the one on radio frequency that we are going to get back to. But let's just see what we can have here. Oh, I already answered that one. I think we got them all.
Do we sell them?
Fabulous. All right. Oh, great question. Where would someone go for dermaplaning training?
Ooh, good one.
And Ella, will you remind everyone what your favorite mix for green power is?
Oh,
Can we answer these questions, after? Is there a way? So we don't want to
send them. We need to
send them.
send these questions to education at
Yes,
Lira Clinical.
absolutely. So there's a couple of them, and I don't know if we're going to be able to get to all of these questions. And so with that, we welcome your questions, and we are happy to look at those. Make sure that with that you email it to education@liraclinical.com. And that's where all of those different types of questions can be answered with our education team and getting out there. We have some dermaplaning training that is incorporated and how to use it with your Lira products. And that's where you can reach out to your Lira clinical territory managers to see when those in-person trainings are going to be. We have our upcoming, you can see here, we have our next couple of upcoming Skin Excellence Roundtables. Our next one next month is going to be on facing rosacea, remembering that our roundtables are always going to be the last Wednesday of every month. And so we are so excited that we have the ability to interact with all of you as the education team, because we don't necessarily, you might hear our voices, you might see what we're working on, but we don't necessarily get that one-on-one interaction with you as often as some of the other staff here at Lira Clinical on the Lira Clinical team. So if just make sure that you email education@liraclinical.com. And we thank you so much for joining us today.
All right, hold on, Tiff, 1 second. Go ahead, Ella.
I just want to address the dermaplaning training question real quick, because that is a phenomenal question. And the thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that dermaplaning is something that's covered, that is permissible in your scope of practice in your state. And then you want to follow your state's guidelines for that. I live in Colorado, and so that we have to make sure we are following our state's guidelines. And for that, we have to go through training from a licensed program. And that's great because that makes us certified, state certified.
And that happens in California and many of your states. And your Lira representatives, you can ask them and they can give you the information they know for their particular states.
Yeah, because it varies. It varies.
Yeah.
We have so many territories. We want to be sure that we give you the right suggestions, but it's important that you get trained, and the hands-on for us, it's important that you learn. As I mentioned, that the more hands-on you do, the more confidence you build on this. It is something that it's easier to do it in person for me, my suggestion, when you're dealing with a scalpel.
Oh yeah.
I mean, certain things we could do with Zoom training, but it's the confidence of holding a scalpel. It's the getting getting to know the skin and how you tighten the skin. Just a
And it's
little
practice.
tips. It's practice.
It's going to take practice, and the
Yeah.
training is going to give you the direction you need to get started. Practice, but again, have the confidence to do it.
Mhm.
Get in there, get your hands into it, and there's many products that you can add to these particular modalities. But we also would like you to look at the topics that we have for the next roundtables. If there are questions that you would like us to address on these roundtables, please send them to education@liraclinical.com, because we'll be able to answer them when we're talking about rosacea, talking about graduating to the next level of peels, and the next one is skin below the chin. We're finding more and more people are into more and more body treatments, including body peels.
Yeah, who knew we had skin down there? I had no idea that we had to anti-age that.
So please send us some of your questions, and we'll be very happy to answer them.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us, and we look forward to speaking with you next month on Facing Rosacea. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.